There are more self-help books than anyone could read in a lifetime. Every year, hundreds more appear promising to fix your habits, your money, your relationships, your confidence, your productivity, your mindset, and apparently your entire life before Monday morning. But here's the problem. Most of them aren't worth your time. Some repeat the same 5 ideas with different covers. Some give you motivation that disappears the moment you close the book. And some are genuinely brilliant, but only useful if you're dealing with the exact problem they're designed to solve. So today we're doing something different. I've narrowed the enormous world of self-help down to just 15 books. And I'm not ranking them by sales. I'm not ranking them by popularity. And I'm definitely not ranking them by how many motivational quotes have been posted from them on Instagram. I'm ranking them by one question. If you could only keep 15 self-development books for the rest of your life, which ones would still be worth having? Some of these books will help you build better habits. Some will make you think more clearly. Some will improve your relationships. And one of them may completely change what you think your life is actually about. So let's start at number 15. And stay until the end, because the top 5 aren't simply 5 more books. They're 5 completely different answers to the question of how to live well. Number 15, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Let's begin with one of the most famous self-help books ever written. Published in 1937, Think and Grow Rich became one of the foundational texts of the modern success literature. Its message is ambitious. Have a definite goal. Develop a burning desire. Believe in your ability to achieve it. Persist when things go wrong. Surround yourself with people who reinforce your ambitions. And organize your actions around the outcome you want. You can understand why this became so influential. But there's an important reason it's only number 15. Some of the book's claims have been simplified and exaggerated over the decades into the idea that if you simply think positively enough, success will somehow appear. That's not a serious description of how life works. Luck exists. Circumstances exist. Structural advantages exist. Failure exists. And simply wanting something doesn't guarantee that you'll get it. But underneath all of that is an idea worth keeping. Vague desire produces vague action. If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, you can't organize your life around it. So don't read Think and Grow Rich as a scientific formula for becoming wealthy. Read it as a classic lesson in ambition, persistence, and purposeful action. And then move on to books that give you a more sophisticated understanding of how change actually happens. Number 14, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. This book became famous partly because it said something most self-help books were afraid to say. You can't care about everything, and you shouldn't. Manson argues that happiness doesn't come from eliminating problems. It comes from choosing better problems, because life is always going to contain problems. If you're broke, your problem is money. If you become wealthy, your problems don't disappear. They change. If you're single, you have one set of problems. If you're married, you have another. If you become successful, maintaining success becomes its own problem. There is no problem-free version of adulthood. So the question becomes, which problems are worth having? That's an incredibly useful shift. Instead of asking, how can I avoid discomfort? Ask, what discomfort am I willing to accept because something matters to me? Want to become physically fit? You have to accept the discomfort of training. Want to become excellent at something? You have to accept being terrible at it for a while. Want a great relationship? You have to accept vulnerability. The book's aggressive tone isn't for everyone. But beneath the profanity is a surprisingly mature idea. A meaningful life isn't a life without suffering. It's a life where some suffering is worth it. That's enough to earn it a place on the list. Number 13, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Now we move from achievement to something completely different. Your mind is constantly talking. It replays conversations, predicts disasters, rehearses imaginary arguments, compares you to other people, remembers embarrassing moments from 10 years ago, and then it tells you this endless stream of thought is reality. Tolle's central argument is that much of our suffering comes from becoming completely identified with this mental noise. The practical lesson is simple. Notice the thought. Don't automatically become the thought. If your mind says, I'm going to fail, you can notice that you're having the thought without treating it as a prophecy. If you're angry, You can notice the anger without allowing it to determine your next action. That gap between experiencing an emotion and automatically obeying it can be incredibly valuable. The book becomes more spiritual and metaphysical than some readers will appreciate. But you don't have to agree with every philosophical claim to take something useful from it. The basic practice is powerful. Learn to be where you actually are. Because if your body is sitting in the present while your mind is permanently living in yesterday or tomorrow, you are effectively absent from your own life. Number 12. The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumite Koga. Imagine discovering that a huge portion of your life is being controlled by one question. What will other people think? What will my parents think? My friends? My coworkers? My followers? My neighbors? People I haven't even met? The Courage to be Disliked attacks that obsession. Based largely on Adlerian psychology, the book presents its ideas through a dialogue between a young man and a philosopher. Its central challenge is uncomfortable. You cannot control other people's opinions of you, and therefore, building your entire life around gaining approval is an impossible task. The book also introduces the idea of separating your tasks from other people's tasks. Your task is how you behave. Their task is how they judge you. Your task is whether you act according to your values. Their task is whether they approve. That's liberating, but there's a catch. Being free from other people's opinions doesn't mean becoming selfish or inconsiderate. It means accepting that you cannot make everyone happy. At some point, you have to choose a life. And choosing a life means disappointing people who wanted you to choose differently. That takes courage. Hence the title. Number 11. Mindset by Carol Dweck. Here's a small change in language that can completely alter how you interpret failure. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at this," say, "I'm not good at this yet." That word, yet, represents the basic idea behind the growth mindset. Dweck's work explores how people think about ability and whether they view it as relatively fixed or capable of development. A fixed view makes failure personal. You failed because you're not talented. A growth-oriented view treats failure as information. Something didn't work. What can you learn? What can you change? What can you practice? This matters because your interpretation of failure influences whether you continue. Imagine two students receiving a terrible grade. One thinks, "I'm stupid." The other thinks, "My preparation was terrible." The first conclusion attacks identity. The second identifies behavior. And behavior can change. Now, the popular internet version of growth mindset sometimes turns this into a simplistic slogan. Just believe you can do anything. That's not the point. The deeper lesson is more useful. Your current performance is not necessarily your permanent potential. That is a much healthier way to approach learning. Number 10. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Most people think their problem is that they don't have enough time. But often that's not the real problem. The real problem is that they're trying to do too many things. Work, exercise, family, friends, side projects, social media, entertainment, news, messages, emails, learning, networking, and another 100 things. Essentialism asks a brutally simple question. What actually matters? Not what is available. Not what everyone else is doing. Not what would look impressive. What matters? Because every yes is also a no. If you say yes to another meeting, you're saying no to something else. If you spend an hour scrolling, you're spending an hour that cannot be spent somewhere else. Time isn't merely something you manage. It's something you spend. And unlike money, you can't earn it back. The essentialist mindset is therefore not about becoming lazy. It's about becoming selective. Do fewer things. Do the important things better. And become comfortable disappointing people when the alternative is disappointing yourself. Number 9. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Now we get into one of the biggest forces shaping your daily life. Habits. You probably have dozens of behaviors you perform without consciously deciding to perform them. You wake up, check your phone, brush your teeth, make coffee, open your laptop, reach for your phone again. The fascinating thing is that habits aren't simply acts of willpower. They're patterns. Duhigg explains the habit loop through a structure involving cues, routines, and rewards. A cue triggers behavior. The behavior produces a reward. And repeated enough times, the cycle becomes increasingly automatic. This gives you a much better question when trying to change. Instead of saying, "Why am I so undisciplined?" ask, "What is triggering this behavior?" Maybe you don't randomly crave your phone. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're anxious. Maybe you're avoiding difficult work. Maybe the phone has become your automatic response to discomfort. Once you understand the cue, you can start redesigning the loop. That's why the power of habit is important. It shifts self-improvement away from moral judgment and toward behavioral understanding. You're not simply lazy. You may have built a system that makes the unwanted behavior incredibly easy. And systems can be changed. Number 8, Deep Work by Cal Newport. Here's a prediction. In a world where artificial intelligence can increasingly generate information, summarize documents, produce images, write code, and automate routine tasks, one human skill may become even more valuable: the ability to concentrate. Deep Work argues that focused, distraction-free work on demanding tasks is becoming both increasingly valuable and increasingly rare. Think about your average day. Notification, message, email, short video, another notification, open browser, check something, return to work, get distracted again. You may spend 8 hours working while only producing a few hours of genuinely difficult thinking. Newport's answer is simple. Protect periods of uninterrupted concentration. Put the phone away. Reduce context switching. Give difficult work your full attention. And train yourself to tolerate boredom instead of immediately escaping it. This isn't merely productivity advice. It's an argument about what happens to your brain when you repeatedly train it to seek novelty. If you can't concentrate, your potential is limited by the strength of your attention. And in an increasingly distracted world, attention is becoming a scarce resource. Number 7, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book was published in 1936, and somehow almost 90 years later, its central lessons still work. Why? Because human beings haven't changed nearly as much as technology has. People still want to feel respected. They still want to be heard. They still care about recognition. And they still hate being humiliated. Carnegie's advice is straightforward. Listen. Show genuine interest. Remember people's names. Avoid unnecessary criticism. Talk about what matters to the other person. Let people feel important. The surprising thing is how difficult these simple behaviors actually are. Most conversations aren't really conversations. They're two people waiting for their turn to speak. We're often less interested in understanding someone than in preparing our response. Carnegie teaches the opposite. Become interested. Ask questions. Listen. Pay attention. And don't make every interaction a competition. This book isn't about manipulating people. At least it shouldn't be read that way. Its deepest lesson is about social generosity. If you want people to care about you, start by genuinely caring about them. That's a principle that doesn't expire. Number 6, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. This is where the list stops being primarily about changing your behavior and starts changing your understanding of your own mind. Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow presents two broad modes of thinking. Fast thinking is automatic, intuitive, immediate. Slow thinking is deliberate, effortful, analytical. And here's the uncomfortable part. Your fast mind is incredibly useful, but it can also fool you. You see patterns that aren't there. You become overconfident. You make judgments based on irrelevant information. You are influenced by framing. You assume your intuition is more reliable than it actually is. The book's central value isn't that you'll suddenly become perfectly rational. You won't. Instead, it teaches humility. The next time you're absolutely certain you're right, you might pause and ask, what if my brain is doing exactly what brains are designed to do, giving me a convincing answer before I've actually thought carefully? That's a powerful question, because better thinking doesn't begin with believing you're rational. It begins with understanding how irrational you can be. Number 5, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now we're going back nearly 2,000 years. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, and while ruling an enormous empire, he wrote private reflections to himself about how to remain disciplined, rational, humble, and decent. Those reflections eventually became meditations. What makes this remarkable is that Marcus wasn't writing motivational content for an audience. He was reminding himself how to live, and the problems he was dealing with are surprisingly familiar. People can be difficult. Plans fail. Other people misunderstand you. Your body gets older. Success disappears. Death is unavoidable. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can control your response. That's the stoic heart of the book. You don't need to pretend bad things aren't bad. You need to stop wasting energy demanding that reality be different from what it is. If someone insults you, you don't control the insult. You control what you do next. If a plan fails, you don't control the failure. You control your response. If someone disappoints you, you don't control their character. You control yours. Meditations doesn't promise happiness. It offers something more durable, character. And that's why a book written by a Roman emperor almost 2,000 years ago still feels relevant. Number 4. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This isn't a comfortable book, and it shouldn't be. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who endured Nazi concentration camps. Man's Search for Meaning combines his experiences with his psychological reflections on suffering, purpose, and meaning. And that gives the book an authority that ordinary self-help cannot manufacture. Frankl wasn't writing from a comfortable office about how to survive a bad Monday. He was asking what remains possible when almost everything has been taken away. His answer centers on meaning. A person can lose comfort, possessions, status, security, freedom, and yet there remains an inner dimension of response. The question changes from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "Given that this is happening, what will I do?" That doesn't mean suffering is good. It doesn't mean people should simply think positively about terrible circumstances. And it certainly doesn't mean victims are responsible for what happens to them. Frankl's insight is more subtle. Meaning can give suffering a context, a responsibility, a person you love, a task that remains unfinished, a future you still want to reach, a reason to keep going. That's why this book has endured for generations and sold more than 16 million copies in more than 50 languages. It doesn't teach you how to optimize your life. It asks you what your life is ultimately for, and that's a much bigger question. Number 3. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And number 3 is a book that attempts something very ambitious. It doesn't give you one trick. It gives you a framework for living. Covey's 7 Habits move from personal responsibility toward relationships and renewal. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Create synergy. Sharpen the saw. The reason this book has lasted is that its ideas aren't really about productivity. They're about principles. Imagine becoming extremely efficient at doing things that don't matter. You could become the most productive person in the world and still build the wrong life. That's why begin with the end in mind matters. Before asking, "How can I get there faster?" ask, "Is this where I actually want to go?" And put first things first asks another uncomfortable question. Are your most important priorities actually receiving your best time and energy? Or are you simply reacting to whatever happens to be urgent? Covey's framework is old school. It's slower than a productivity hack, but that's precisely why it works. It asks you to build your life from the inside out, not merely to become more efficient, but to become the kind of person who knows what efficiency is supposed to serve. Number 2. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Money looks mathematical. Income, expenses, interest, returns, percentages. But Housel argues that financial behavior is deeply psychological. 2 people can earn the same amount of money and end up with completely different lives. Why? Because money isn't just about mathematics. It's about behavior, fear, ego, status, patience, family history, personal experience, and the stories we tell ourselves about what money means. One person sees a market crash and panics. Another sees opportunity. One person earns more and immediately increases their lifestyle. Another saves the difference. One person wants to become rich. Another wants enough that they never have to worry. These people aren't simply making different calculations. They're living according to different psychological realities. That's what makes the psychology of money so useful. It doesn't require you to become a Wall Street expert. It asks you to understand yourself. And that's often the missing piece. You can know every investing principle in the world and still sabotage yourself through impatience, greed, fear, or lifestyle inflation. Money is behavior, and behavior is psychology. Number 1, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And finally, number 1, Atomic Habits. This is where I would put the book that gives the largest number of people the clearest path from knowing what they should do to actually doing it. The genius of Atomic Habits isn't that James Clear invented the idea of habits. He didn't. Its strength is that he turned a huge body of behavioral thinking into a practical system ordinary people can use. The basic idea is almost deceptively simple. Small improvements compound. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You need to make the next action easier. Then repeat it. Clear's framework emphasizes 4 laws. Make it obvious. Make it attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. And underneath all of this is a deeper idea. You don't simply build habits. Your habits help build your identity. Every time you exercise, you're casting a vote for being someone who takes care of their body. Every time you write, you're casting a vote for being a writer. Every time you study, you're casting a vote for being someone who learns. One action doesn't transform you, but repeated actions change the evidence you have about yourself. And that is why Atomic Habits has become such a phenomenon. James Clear currently reports more than 25 million copies sold worldwide in translations into more than 60 languages. The book doesn't tell you to become a completely different person tomorrow. It gives you a much more realistic challenge. Become 1% better at something that matters. Then do it again, and again, and again. That is why it takes the number 1 position. Not because it's the deepest book on the list. It isn't. Not because it's the oldest. It isn't. Not because it contains the most revolutionary ideas. It doesn't. It takes number 1 because it is arguably the best bridge between understanding and action. And self-help without action is just entertainment. The final ranking, so, after everything we've discussed, here's the final list. Number 15, Think and Grow Rich. Number 14, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Number 13, The Power of Now. Number 12, The Courage to Be Disliked. Number 11, Mindset. Number 10, Essentialism. Number 9, The Power of Habit. Number 8, Deep Work. Number 7, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Number 6, Thinking Fast and Slow. Number 5, Meditations. Number 4, Man's Search for Meaning. Number 3, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Number 2, The Psychology of Money. And number 1, Atomic Habits. But there's something important about this ranking. You don't actually need all 15. In fact, reading 15 self-help books back-to-back might be one of the least useful things you could do. Because eventually, self-improvement can become another form of procrastination. You keep reading about discipline instead of becoming disciplined. You keep reading about focus instead of focusing. You keep reading about habits instead of building them. So choose the book that matches the problem you're actually facing. If your life feels chaotic, read Essentialism. If you can't concentrate, read Deep Work. If your habits are destroying your progress, read Atomic Habits. If you're struggling with money, read The Psychology of Money. If relationships are your weakness, read Carnegie. If you want to understand your own thinking, read Kahneman. If you're struggling with purpose, read Frankl. And if you simply want to become a calmer, more disciplined human being, pick up Marcus Aurelius. Because the goal of reading isn't to be able to say, I've read 100 self-help books. The goal is to reach a point where you don't need another self-help book to tell you what to do. You already know. You just do it. That's when a book has actually changed you. And perhaps that's the real test of a great self-help book. Not how inspired you feel when you finish the final page, but what you do differently the next morning